Alright, today's lesson is pictographs and dot plots. So our goal for today is to be able to accurately interpret and draw pictographs and dot plots. Make sure you rate your effort and knowledge. Alright, so just a quick recap. What are some features that every graph should have? So at this point, please pause the video and have a good think. Maybe even look at the graph on this slide and have a think about some of the features that every graph should have before I show you the answers, which I'm just about to do. Alright, so just making sure our graph always has a heading, labels on each axis. So when I look at the axis, I need to know what I'm looking at, and equal spacing on the axis. This is probably the most important, equal spacing. You do not get marks if your spacing is not even. And what we mean by that is you're going from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, so increments of 1. I can't go 1, 2, 3, 10, 15, 20, 27, 35. So if I'm increasing by 1 each time, it has to go all the way increasing by 1. Here I'm increasing by 10 each time, so it has to always be the same. Right? Okay, so pictographs. A pictograph, there we go, is used to display information using images or symbols to represent data. So in this case here, I've been told that each tennis ball is equal to 20 games. So for example, if I'm looking at John's data and how many games he's played, I would say that's 20 and another 20. So all up he's played 40 games. Whereas if I'm looking at Sam, I would say he's played 20, 20, and this is a quarter of the full circle, so that would be 5, and we've been given that information. But even if we don't get given that information, you should be able to tell that this is 5 because it's a quarter of 20. So he's played all up 45 games. Mary, we've got 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, so that's 80, and then that's 5 plus 5, so 10. So all up Mary has played 90. And then Alex, we've got 20 plus 20, and that would be 15. So that equals 55 games played by Alex. So that's a pictograph, and be able to interpret information by looking at the graph and the key that has been given to us, which is 1 tennis ball equals to 20 games, and that quarter of a tennis ball equals to 5. So basically, the graph was used to represent the number of times each person played tennis this year, and that is how many times they played just by looking at that pictograph. So this is one for you to try. This graph shows the number of mirrors a company had in their Melbourne warehouse in 2019, and we've been told that each square equals to 100 mirrors. So what you need to do is answer these questions. How many mirrors did the company have in these months? Which month did the company have the most mirrors in the warehouse? And draw the symbol which could be used for 50 mirrors and 25 mirrors. I'm about to go through the answers, but I highly recommend at this point you pause the video, give it a try yourselves, and then have a look at my working out and answers. So how many mirrors did the company have in May? So we're looking at May. I know each of these squares is 100, so 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So I'd say in May, there were 500. In August, 100, because there's only one square. And then December, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 600 in December. Which month did the company have the most mirrors in the warehouse? I would say this is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the answer to that would be March and July, because in both of those months they had 7. So March and July. And the last question, draw the symbol which could be used for 50 mirrors. So if that is 100, then half of that, so I would say that, and so maybe you could even something like that. sorry, for 50, so that would be, there we go. And then for 25, you would split it into 4, and it would be that. So don't worry about this one here. So if I had to do it for 50 mirrors, it would be that, and then 25 mirrors, it would look like that. Right? Okay, dot plots. So a dot plot is a very simple statistical graph where each piece of data is represented by a dot. So that's one piece of data on the dot plot. That's another one. That's another one. When drawing a dot plot, it is important to space the dots equally. So just making sure it's nice and neat. So here, if I've got all of these circles or dots, they need to be sort of evenly spaced. The dots should be represented in a column placed over a number line. So you always draw a number line and then you place your dots over the number line, and always include a heading to describe the data within the graph. So someone who looks at the dot plot should be able to tell what they're looking at. So in this case, I'm looking at softball players' heights. All right, so these are some of the key things to remember when you're drawing a dot plot. We can interpret information from a dot plot as well. So here, this is the dot plot we just had a look at. And then this one is another one for basketball players' heights. The dot plots show the heights of 15 high school basketball players and the heights of 15 high school softball players, sorry. Now, in terms of interpreting information from this, there's a lot of information that we can interpret. I just had a quick look at this, and these are some of the things I was able to interpret from these two dot plots. All softball players, so I'm now looking at this dot plot here. All softball players are 5'6" or less. So that's my last dot there. So all of them are less than 5'6". Most basketball players are more than 5'8". So basically from there, most of them. One player, there's only one player that's 5'1", because I don't have anyone here who's at 5'1". So I've all up, only got one player who's 5'1", and overall 3 players have a height of 5'2". So there's 1, 2, and then I've got one more here. So overall, meaning in the whole thing, the 15 that are playing basketball and 15 playing softball, overall I've got 3 of them who are at 5'2", and none of the players are 5'7". So if I look at 5'7" here, there's nothing here, and 5'7" here, there's nothing here as well. So none of the players are at 5'7". There's a lot more that you can interpret from these two dot plots, but these are just some of the main things that I noticed when I looked at them. So you should be able to interpret information by looking at dot plots, just like I have done. All right, so what I'll get you to do is read this question to draw this dot plot. And at this point, I would like you to pause the video. Make sure when you are putting these dots on your number line, the easiest way to make sure you're not making a mistake is cross it off. So once I've put 14 as a dot on my dot plot, I cross it off so I know I've done that one. And then I count how many other 14s there are. There's no more. And then I move on to the next one. So if I'm doing 13, let's say I do 1, 2, and that's it. So there's 2 dots that go on 13 on my number line. And then answer these questions. The answer is on the next slide. So at this point, I need everyone to pause the video, give it a try before you see the answer. So the dot plot, the answer is here. So these were the values that were given to you on the previous slide. And these are the dots. So you can sort of say most of the values lie on this 12, and then from 10 to 14 is where most of our values lie. These I would say are outliers. So there's again a lot that you can interpret from the dot plot just by looking at this. And then finally, once you've completed doing that dot plot in your numeracy books, please make sure you go to exercise for lesson 8, which is called Pictographs and Dot Plots, and attempt all the questions there. Thank you.